People's behavior change when they see money. Many people who are probably richer or who have more money than all of us here combined, and they buy all their cars on loans. Taking this car on a 7% loan, and I am investing and getting a 12% return. I'm making like 5%.
Yeah.
That's why it's better for me to take everything on loan. There are these optimizers, and then there are these people who splurge, who just see this new iPhone and they can't control themselves and they don't have that money. They're like, hey, there's no cost EMI is available. Earnings are more important than spends, because earning, there is no upper cap. Spending, the cap you have is zero. Think of credit as a tool to grow.
Welcome to Best Interest, a show where we explore how people make real-life money decisions, shaped by experiences and not by gyan or advice. I'm Aditya Mattu and I'll be your host, and today we are joined by Jatin Bhasin, Chief Product Officer at Axio, someone who brings a deep understanding of how people actually behave with money, not just how they think they do. Jatin, thank you so much for taking out the time to speak to us. Really lovely to have you at Best Interest.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. Looking forward for this conversation.
Jatin, the idea of this show is, as I just said, how people in India look at money, how do we spend money, and being at Axio gives you an interesting vantage point for it. But before we go into your professional side, I want to sort of understand who the person is and how your money making and how you look at money, how those ideals were formed. So you are a Bangalore boy, I'm assuming?
No. I was born and brought up in Kanpur.
Okay.
And my paternal side is all Kanpur. Maternal side is Delhi. And then for 16 years, I've been in Bangalore.
And how was the home structure like? How was the atmosphere like? Was money a part, money something that was discussed? What are your earlier memories of money around you?
I come from a place where money was really scarce, but we were not super rich either. But money was never, I would call it for our needs, was never scarce. And also because I am probably the first person in my entire extended family who took up a job. And we have primarily been a business families. And
Interesting.
also in our family, I feel money has never been a taboo. On like dinner table conversations were like openly discussed about money. So this concept of me constantly thinking about money did not happen because it was very natural in our place to be discussed that, we invest this money in the bank, FD will give you this much of return, why don't you invest these things here, was I just grew up. So I naturally understood businesses, cash flows and so on. That was easy for me to understand. Nobody ever gave me like a course.
So I'm looking at dinner table conversation. Money is not a taboo subject. And fortunately, there is money to take care of the basic needs.
Yeah.
And a good upbringing. When did you earn your first buck? And I mean, as a proper where money, you mentioned that you're the first person in sort of the history of the Bhasin Khandan who went, hey, I want to do a job.
Right.
How was that? Was there a taboo there for you, or how was that decision and how did that come about?
So I'll tell you a story where I felt like, I was just sharing this with my few friends a few days back, that when I really felt that, oh man, like people's behavior change when they see money, right? What happened like when I was like really young? So I was, I think, 11 or 12. And I learned cycling a lot later. Like my son started cycling when he was 5-year-old. I learned when I was 11. But when I learned late, I became that child that I really want to do household work. If you want to get a bread, I'm just going to take my cycle and going to get a bread. If I want to get something, I'm just going to go. So I was that over enthusiastic child. And it was evening, some folks came for dinner and my aunt asked me to get ice cream from a neighborhood store. And I took my cycle. She gave me $200, 200 rupee notes. And that was like, I've been used to taking money cash and going to a store, buying, getting the change back and the stuff. But that day, I did not know. I went to the store without asking how much is the bill. I asked for like whatever kulfi or whatever that ice cream was. Without asking the bill, I said, here's the money. Now you give me back. So the bill was $96. And he returned me 4 rupees. Now I'm like, but I gave you 200. He's like, no, you gave me 100. I feel that was probably the first time I felt cheated right?
Yeah.
That, oh man, like why would, like I did not even understand as a child that why would he, like why is he keeping that 100? Like I'm like sure I gave 2 notes and now he's
Yeah.
not. I'm like peeping into his drawer,
Yeah.
and that was like an experience. I came back, my aunt gave me a big massive scolding that you have to first ask the money and then like count money and give it back. But
Yeah.
that was a small incident for a, like now it doesn't matter. Like, but
Like,
I'm
yeah,
saying, but as a 10
you
year,
couldn't
11-year-old
comprehend.
child, like I was like, boss, there's a behavior shift which happens
Hmm.
in and around money. So that guy just felt like, okay, maybe just cheat
I
him
can
and
swindle
this
this
child,
kid.
like you can just take $100 more. But that was a lasting, at least maybe a very trivial story, but at least for me back then, it was a lasting experience. But having said that, stories like these just build behavior around money, that money is really important. And then later in life, like some far off relative went into Google, and then everybody's just praising his package is this much in the family.
Yeah.
It's better to do this job rather than doing this business. What are we doing in business? So much of unpredictability. Those kind of conversations probably led like when I was very young, when I did not know I want to do engineering and so on. I like it's not that there's only one way. There can be different other ways, and people can be like really successful. And then of course, like that my journey is very cliched that, as a child you start liking computer because that's the first source of entertainment, and then
Yeah.
you're like, this is the thing, this is my
This is
tool
what-
to
yeah.
enter into the universe. And then I got really interested in that, and then that led for me to do engineering. And then post engineering I got an offer which, like, and then I was growing there, and it became like a path for me. Now back like, by the way, while doing job I keep thinking many a time that if I were to do my own business at some point in time, but
Yeah.
I've never taken that plunge yet.
Interesting. So now we have taken your trajectory from the Kanpur, Delhi 30% boy, Bangalore 30%, to your family, which was mostly into business, and the fact that money was spoken about and it was never something that you shied away from. Now you're getting into a career of your own, a job, a salary. Now I want to get into Axio. If you could just describe Axio in a very simple terms for our audience, those who don't know, then I'll come back with my questions.
Yeah, sure. So Axio, we were formerly called Capital Float. We are an NBFC who give loans to consumers. Our popular products are buy now, pay later. And for one of the product, we have partnered with Amazon called Amazon Pay Later. The other product which we have is personal loans. And the third product which we have is like a PFM, personal finance management app, which was formerly called Walnut. We acquired that company and now it's called an Axio app.
And the reason why I wanted you to set this up is, as I mentioned in the opening, you have a very unique look into how Indians spend money, how Indians look at money, how they take their decisions when it comes to money, how analytical they are, how practical they are, how emotional they are. Can you tell me, is there anything that you have learned by working in this setup that you didn't know about Indians and how we look at money? And also, secondly, in the time that you worked in the organization, in this space, have you seen a change in how Indians look at money?
First of all, I have realized that it's not that Indians are very different, right? Especially the younger crowd who is well versed with information, they behave like any other global audience, right? You go to China, Korea, it's by and large similar. Of course, back in the day, Indians were like save first, spend later. In the US, credit were like through the roof, but now in India also credit is being used. But I feel most humans, including me, we are predictably irrational. You can predict
Predictably?
irrational.
Okay.
There are many examples, right? Like we do loans, right? And there's a concept of foreclosure of loans. I realized this concept that people, if you have taken a loan, you are that optimizer kind of a person, right? That you know what, I might as well take this thing on loan, and I have enough money, but I can invest that better. So, for example, I know many people who are probably richer or who have more money than all of us here combined, and they buy all their cars on loans because they are so efficient in investing their money that they're like, hey, I'm taking this car on a 7% loan, and I am investing and getting a 12% return. I'm making like 5%.
Yeah.
That's why it's better for me to take everything on loan. There are these optimizers, right? And then there are these people who splurge, who just see this new iPhone and they can't control themselves and they don't have that money. They're like, hey, there's no cost EMI is available. So I think discipline comes into that. But the concept I was just getting back to was like, there's this foreclosure, right? That if you have taken a loan midway, you feel like, hey, I want to pay back and close the loan. What we realized, and we were discussing the other day at office, that there's this concept of the found money effect.
Okay.
All of a
Please.
sudden, you get a tax refund,
Hmm.
or you get some money which you were not expecting. अरे यार ये पैसा आ गया यार,
Or a Nigerian
अरे
prince.
ये बोनस आ गया मेरे को, ये लोन बंद कर देते हैं उठा करके. बट इफ यू आर एन ऑप्टिमाइजर, व्हाई आर यू क्लोजिंग द लोन? Why don't you continue it? I know people who took a home loan, they got some money, they just first thing they did is, I want to just close the loan. It is a very irrational thing for an optimizer to do. Take that money, invest it. But now that you have got it, or for example, I know folks back in the day, you remember like people used to do this, moonlighting was a concept that these software developers used to work in the day for a regular job, and in the evening they used to take these consulting jobs, right? So let's say a person was making 1 lakh rupees a month by doing his regular job. And now by doing this consulting for like 3 hours of consultation, he's going to get another 1 lakh. They're going to take that 1 lakh and go for a trip for Thailand. This person is not a person who splurge. This person takes his salary which comes to him and spend it properly. His SIPs are going to go and so on. But all of a sudden, some windfall or something happens, as if I have the right to splurge on this money. But that salary of mine is a very hard-earned money.
The money earned and the money found.
Money earned and the money found. So money found is like, उड़ा दो यार इसको आज, चल पार्टी करते हैं भाई, वो पैसा मिल गया. But पैसा, money is money in the end, right? Like but
The
people,
value of the thing will not
I'm
change.
saying what I'm saying is like
Perceived value of it.
Yeah, people are like really sharp. They react very differently to that concept. Like ideally, if you have found that money or you have earned that money, finally you have got that much amount of money, you should behave the same way. If you have taken a loan and you had some random windfall gain, you got some liquidation when the company exited against your shares, or you got some, all of a sudden because of performance, some bonus, you should still invest that money. But people don't. I'm talking about optimizers.
Yeah. Interesting. So we have, in India, we have the optimizers. What are the other categories of how do we look at money?
By and large, I feel India is like very value seeking, right? So like the discounts and instant cashbacks is like for any growth guy, if you talk about it, like just 100 rupees ka cashback laga do, like growth aa jayegi. I think is the first all the people do. So I think we are very, very extremely value conscious. That is where I think we are very different. We don't like buy the spiel of a brand that, this is like artisanal, some craftsmanship. I don't think so. That's why you go, you feel that everything is just becoming so expensive, but you do a foreign trip and come back, you're like, no man, we are so much better off because everything is still feels a lot reasonable than all the other places around.
You just touched upon, buy now, pay later loans. I believe that's also a thing that's been a change in India, that we are warmed up to it. I mean, yes, as you said, there will be those optimizers who will take things to the extreme. But now, like at least for, say, my parents' generation, a credit card was, do we really need it? Because the idea of credit is not something, it has a negative connotation attached to it. How has that change come in, and where has that change come in from? And how do you see people using that in their benefit?
Again, I feel that, first of all, India as a country has progressed. And we have, in general, like per capita income has, I think, has doubled. I think, but it's very slow, and we are really far behind. But we have become better. Like if you compare your parents, they did not have as much money as what you have now. I think we have started to value convenience a lot more, right? Time is also some form of money, or some has not money, has some value associated with that.
Correct.
As a concept started, and it makes sense for certain people. For example, if my dad is in Bangalore, he just feels, all you guys, I just see like these young folks in Bangalore, they're just like burning money. And I see people go to the store, they ask for a certain product, they don't even negotiate, they just buy it and they just leave it. I think Bangalore people have made just too much money. Like you go, that's what my dad's pet peeve is always. But I feel that if you're doing any work, right, it can be done in the best quality. It can be done at the cheapest rate. And it can be done in the most time efficient way.
Triangle of any task.
And this cohort of people like my dad, who's like, Bangalore, everybody is just like splurging, and they go to the store. I went to the store, he wanted to buy a lock. He's like, itne ka hai, usne itne paise diye, and like he just walked out. If he would have asked one more question, sir, kuch acha kar dijiye to thoda discount, like he doesn't want to have that conversation. I completely disagree with my dad on this point. I don't think so. People of this generation are dumb, or they don't understand, or they don't value money. there is something going on in their mind with which they are able to get more value. So, for example, if you were to make a house, you can make it in the best quality. You can spend the least with even with the best quality. But what you're gonna lose is time. If you're okay to lose time. So, if you, for example, if you go back to those laid back cities and so on, what we were just talking before this podcast, they don't value that time. For them, time is out of equation. They're like, I just want cheapest and best quality. How much ever time I'm gonna keep finding vendors, so I'm gonna delay
Eight
the
saal tak I
opportunity
will be
and that opportunity
build.
cost, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, like recently, our company got acquired by a larger company, and I feel that I keep hearing this term about long-term thinking. I feel long-term thinking is also comes from a privilege that you can think. If you're a startup, if you're always existential,
Yeah.
right, that time is the most important thing, but you need to get that output right, like at that particular time. You don't have that luxury. While it's like a dull tourism to say that you should have a long term thinking, think about the future, think 5 years, don't think today. But because it is a different scenario for you, that's why people take those decisions which in the short term seems right, in the long term may be wrong, but
It keeps the
knowingly
thing
you take
afloat.
that,
Yeah.
knowingly you take that.
So we know right now is we want to build systems. We want to have ideas of what we want. We want ideas of where do we want to be, and we build systems. Either we seek help accordingly, get there, or we start investing in ways where we can reach that place. Be if you want to be the optimizer, or if you want to be the one who optimizes their time and mental capacity, you can choose whichever way you take. What are the few areas that we, or rather you, have come across that we should always account for? Like, for example, one thing I can think of is an emergency fund. Like, that's just a basic hygiene thing. Are there any other things that you've thought, yeah, these I have to take care of, or these I have to plan for? Also, considering like you have seen a million people make financial decisions.
Oh, yeah. I think this concept of this net worth and chasing this number all the time creates a level of anxiety. So instead of that I'm going to get that X, I was just talking about it, right?
The base will keep, you'll be anxious at 1 lakh, you'll be anxious at 10 lakhs and 1 crore also.
Yeah. So that hedonist treadmill that you are always on, that the baseline is going to change. I feel instead the right way to do is, and I think most of the time the simple thing works the most. So instead of having that number as a concept, if you start thinking in cash flow, I make this much money, I spend this much money. Your spending has to be less than, like, it's become like again very like duh kind of stuff. But I'm saying if you earn this much and you have to spend this much, and this much you have to be saving, and you are saving for creating a safety net. Of course, if you have a loss of job, then you need a certain level of runway. I think it brings to all these like influencers who keep talking about, right, that in the end everybody's seeking this freedom, and freedom is basically that you continue to live your current standard of living without a paycheck. That is what everybody's trying to seek. I many times think that a person who has 100 crore and a person who has 1,000 crore, their standard of living, give or take, would be the same. If you stop thinking about the number, this year I have to reach by that particular time and so on, I think it's better to keep your finances very simple. That I earned this much, I spent this much, I want to spend within this, and not get too stressed and too anxious and like keep talking about it as if it has become like it's a tool to get reached that freedom, right? What you are seeking. But then that I'm going back to that the pursuit is happiness basically. So you should like have fun in that work, what you are doing. This has to be an end product, and you have to actually stay away from that and automate. Like, I'm a firm believer of automating, but sometimes I feel like a lot of pivots happen when you do this manual and instinct based investment also. So it's not that you should be aware of what's happening around you and make those calls. But I feel that as much as simple as you can keep this.
Yeah.
Don't spend about this. Keep your desires a little low. It's like all basic stuff what we have been told as a child, jitni chadar utne pair and all that. But if you really want to buy that product, if your child really wants to go to a certain university, you have to see a long-term return. And for that, if you have to take a loan, might as well take the loan. So I think keep making these pragmatic calls for different time, but not necessarily constantly keep talking about that money. Because I feel, at least I'm in that circle in Bangalore. You go out for drinks. There was a point in time people used to discuss what are you watching on Netflix? What is your latest song, or how is that movie?
Yeah.
But man, the question of the time is that fire number, which is all the time. Hey, I am this year old. How much money I need to have for me to leave this job today? I just like seriously, man. A 30-year-old person keeps asking for this question all the time. It's just again, it's gonna make you anxious. Instead, keep focusing on the inputs. You may reach there and keep doing the right things. And on that, I had one more point. I feel earnings are more important than spends because earning there is no upper cap. Spending the cap you have is zero. You can't go below zero.
Yeah.
So all you can do is zero. So zero earning, zero saving, you'll be at zero. But I'm saying if you focus on earning, upskilling yourself, and if you're not liking something, doing something else, and not again thinking about money as an outcome, but you have to really like it and you have to be really good at it.
Yeah.
And if you're not good at it, try to become good at it. I think that then in general, all these other things, that house, that car, everything is going to be taken care by itself.
Yeah, as I was saying, you mentioned the idea of money earned and money found. I'm curious, how does that work when it comes to loans and Indians? Because this money was not with me, and suddenly I have money to buy a house, a car, your education. How do we approach that? And is there something that we need to understand before we go into that?
So somebody told me that leverage is the most valuable thing you can earn in life. So if you are earning certain level basis your income, you have been given a loan. So if you are getting a loan, you are doing something. If you are credit worthy, you are doing something right. So
Fair.
I think you should leverage on that you are that one person who is able to get that. But
Opportunity.
it has to be a need first and then think of credit always. I feel it can't be that I'm getting the loan. Oh, I have got the loan. What should I like unnecessarily buy? So I feel the spender cohort, not the optimizer, the people who spend sometimes when they're getting a loan or the deep desire to get this new phone or this watch like today undermines the cost associated with that. Finally, it is not your money. Finally, you have to pay back. There is an interest cost. There's all these fee costs if you're not going to pay on time. Like for example, these credit cards. The credit cards make money by a concept called revolver, that you take a certain money. If you pay back, you don't pay anything extra. But if you keep taking credit, you're going to just add up.
Yeah.
And then you have to pay a 40% interest. So there is always a cost associated with that. But this debt trap and so on, people don't get it. But I have realized people who really understand this go to the next level. All these like top billionaires have taken all loans. They've set up all their industries basis that, all working capital. Otherwise, how would you be able to ever take that next opportunity if you don't think of credit as a tool to grow? If you don't think of it like that, it's a tool to grow. So I think if you feel that this entire business makes sense, this is how we are going to make money, and it's quite real. But these tools, what we need, is not there. You should definitely go for credit and get a working capital sort of a loan or credit, and use it wisely. But it's not just about loan. People keep talking about loan, but I think it's everything, right?
I wanted to loan because it's that found money kind of a thing. Does India think of loan money as found money?
There are two different kind of people. There are people who think of it wisely, that hey,
It's
I have
opportunity
received
to
this money,
accelerate
there is
my
a
growth.
cost associated with it, but my opportunity is a lot larger than the cost associated with this. So they are that one cohort which makes like a big in life. Then there is that smaller proportion of people who we call NPA or delinquent customers who go bad. But your question is that people think of loan as money found and just like do whatever with that. Yeah, there are few people, but by and large, I think people are using credit wisely. For example, don't you think in your house, somebody takes a home loan, it's not like considered bad, or somebody takes an education loan, it's like, wow, education loan. You got it through this Ivy League and you need a loan for that. Wow. But like if somebody buys
An iPhone or
a TV on loan, they think, seriously, like something going wrong in your life. But I don't think so. Like it could be an optimizer in the right way. I'm saying optimizer also is not necessarily a bad thing. It's like I'm talking about those extreme who are really good at optimizing and you know about it, you should definitely go for it. Yeah.
Interesting. Has there been any, in the recent past, like a money mistake that you made? Like how, like say a decision that you took, maybe it could be a loan, maybe it could be an investment, and later you thought like, hey, maybe I was going with the instinct, maybe I wasn't going with the system, maybe I was just looking at it from an emotional angle, or maybe there was as you said, there could be ability angle also. You try your best, things are not working out. Has there been any instances in the near past that you could shed some light on?
I think when I started earning, these YouTube stuff and all that was not around.
Yeah.
And money became, as a concept, that how to invest became that one uncle who really has some knowledge and everybody looks up to him and he says that.
Yeah.
Because of which I ended up investing in places which ideally I shouldn't have. Because at that age, that money, if I would have invested in some other instrument, I would have been like at somewhere else. So I think that is a mistake, but it comes with its own set of learning. So if you're the right person, I feel, then you're gonna like make up for that mistake very like quickly. So what I feel is that you don't have to go into the detail and get it automated and leave it to like a person who is expert at it. But you can't be that person that I don't know, just like do it. Then the outcome is also not in your hand. Somebody else is gonna decide the destiny. But as early jobbers, back then when this much of access of information was not there, I think all of us like are guilty of putting money into some FD or something, like getting a 4%, 5% return. Instead, like we could have put in like some other equity or done something else.
Do you track your expenses?
Yeah.
To what detail? I know you're not the optimizer.
Category level. And
how
much I'm spending on travel, how much I'm spending on food. Like my food has become a next category which I never believed. Like 10 years back, if you had told me that because of these food ordering apps. Food, travel, medical. My top category is medical, unfortunately, because of something or the other keep happening, man. And the bills are like really big. Second is travel. And travel, not necessarily because I'm traveling and like going for vacations. Because I'm Bangalore, most of the families in Delhi, our trips to Delhi is as if I'm going from Indanagar to Koramangala. So I think it just all adds up.
The question I was coming to is that also a part of a system that you built that, hey, I need to track this to keep an idea of where I'm going to? Or is it just curiosity that's leading you to it? Or like, I know you said that you don't want to recommend ideas to people, but would you say this has helped you in any ways?
So I'm a firm believer of that, like product management 101, right? You will fix only those things what you're going to measure.
Okay.
Right? So if you don't measure, you're not going to know. You just keep spending, you're going to survive. You're like average person who understand like, हाँ यार मैं महीने में 1 लाख रुपए खर्च करता हूँ, so मेरा 1 लाख रुपए खर्चा हो रहा है, so मोटा is fine. But I think when you start tracking, like for example, I'm again a believer of all these health tracker apps and Garmin's and these Oura rings and Whoop bands, because I feel it is again, when you start tracking your sleep, you're going to get to know that you're actually deficit. And at a certain age,
I got to know that.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are an hour deficit, you are not going to get to know between the age of like 25 to 35, but it's all going to add up and you're going to directly get to know at 40, right? Same as these spends that, hey, if I have my budget of 50,000 rupees this month and I'm already exceeding, this next purchase, that Dyson can wait, man. Like I don't need like that, like today. Yeah, I don't know how Dyson made vacuum cleaner, like aspirate, like wow, man, what a company.
That's a story for another time.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the Kanpur boy. Maybe not the Kanpur boy, but maybe someone who was just about to enter engineering. If they heard your ideas and philosophy about money right now, will they be surprised?
I think my family are usually who never get too happy or never get too sad. So they're, this guy's done okay.
No, but like how they're approaching money, would that person be surprised? Like this person,
they have
still not started a job.
My friends back home, like when I talk to them, and then if you tell them that me and my like friends are staying on a rented house, they just feel like surprised. They seriously surprised that they're like, oh, you're going abroad, you're traveling and so on, and you're actually in a rented house. Why are you doing this, man? So those kind of things are there, which I feel is a weird thing for them to accept.
Like, I'm talking about you. समझ लीजिए कि
15-year-old
you, and now you, will that 15-year-old will be surprised कि यार अच्छा ऐसा भी हो सकता है, because I'm guessing the 15-year-old hasn't taken the call of getting into a salaried thing yet, so they probably know only about like अपना धंधा, अपना business. How do you? So will that person be surprised कि अच्छा ये भी किया जा सकता था?
I would not be negatively surprised. I would not be positive. I would definitely feel that I think I got lucked out or blessed by meeting those right folks at right times. And probably I was always a very inquisitive person by large. So if I'm going on a drive with you, and if you are that person who really knows about, let's say, money and how to handle it, I'm gonna like chew your brains for that 1 hour drive. I'm gonna make that quick call. So there is always this, also the gap between intent and action. So if you ask this question to anybody that, hey, do you want to save money? Everybody would be like, yeah. If you want to make money, everybody would be like, yeah. If you want to invest money, like, it's yeah. But it's always the delta between intent and action. How many people actually go back and set up that SIP and do not stop it, even if a certain expense come, being disciplined about it. Same in health. Like, you know that you have to eat less, you know you have to work out. I think money and so on are like that. That intent, I don't think so anybody would
Everyone
have.
has
If you are with a
intent.
sound mind, I think there is no problem with the intent. But I think it all comes down to actions. And if you are actually taking those actions and not getting swayed by distractions.
So take actions, but make sure your systems are in place.
Yeah. And keep checking, keep reviewing.
Keep reviewing your beliefs. I think that's pretty much, that brings us to the end of the conversation. Jatin, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. I really hope you folks enjoyed it. I think what really stood out is how much money is about behavior and not just knowledge. Everyone has knowledge available, at least now. And if you enjoyed this episode, do stay tuned in. We'll be bringing up many more such real stories and perspectives around money right here on Best Interest.